Why would you get a tattoo there? Hey everybody, Valerie Lorraine here on the Let's Talk channel. This is series Shenanigans, episode 14. Very excited to have a very special guest, comedian Raj, in the building. We're going to get to that in a minute. As always, we always start off by saying hello to our producer, Quentin. Hello.
What's up?
You know,
What's up?
summertime.
Everything all right?
Yeah, everything's
Who
all right.
who we got tonight? Who's this guy?
Comedian Raj. He is so funny, and you know what? We're gonna learn more about the serious side of him, and then we're gonna get into some comedy like we always do at the end.
Do you think that a comedian can ever be serious?
I'm not sure, but we're gonna find out.
I mean, because most comedians, it's like natural, like they're like natural funny. So I don't know if a comedian can ever be serious.
I don't know. You know what I think? I think that people expect them to be funny, so when they're serious, they don't know how to take them.
I don't know. I
Either that, or else their wife or husband is always telling them to like, "Can you ever just be serious?"
and I did see a couple of his videos. He's one of those comedians that is very animated.
Yeah.
So in his animation, he could be serious, but we could think he's funny, or you could think he's funny and he's trying to be serious, or he's being funny and you're taking him as serious. I mean,
That's like a who's on first kind of scenario that you got going on there.
watch yourself. You know I'm from Jersey. You know Lou Costello's from Jersey. Watch yourself.
I'm more worried about
Big statue of him in Patterson, right in the downtown area of Patterson. Watch yourself.
All right.
We don't play those games, Val.
No.
All right, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes, okay?
And you, producer.
Hi there.
How's it going?
Good. Can everybody hear me just fine? Are we good?
Yeah, and everybody can hear me. That's impressive. I don't know how many times I have to leave and come back because there's something wrong with my audio. We are so excited to have.
I'm excited to be here. So thank you so much for
I love that you are accessible to your community.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's our, we sign up for this gig, so I appreciate every opportunity to do something like this. It's a lot of fun, and I get to meet new people, so this is great.
Right? Absolutely. So, tell us who Raj the comedian is.
I started doing stand-up 21 years ago here in Dallas, Texas, where I'm at right now. We're about to kick off a new tour starting August 4th and 5th here in Dallas, and then off to Houston, San Antonio, then the East Coast. So we're going to be doing a bunch of shows out there. But started stand-up, grew up in a small town called Mesquite, Texas. First Indian my family was the first Indian family there, so got horribly bullied as a kid, and tried to figure out. I was really, really small. I was a really small kid. And so I was like trying to figure out different ways of preventing the ass kicking that was inevitable. So I learned very early on, I think it was like 8 or 9 years old. My dad would go and get his hair cut at the same barbershop, and he would always borrow their Reader's Digest. He never gave it back, so I called it stealing. He didn't. And they always had jokes in the back. And I was always intrigued by stand-up comedy. I was always intrigued by the motion pictures and Hollywood movies and Bollywood movies, because my dad was a big Bollywood fan. And at 4 years old, I think I told him I was going to be an actor, and just a fan of. I've always wanted to entertain, and I knew that. And I would memorize these jokes in the back of the Reader's Digest, and I would go to school the next day, and I would tell those jokes to the guys that would bully me. And I found out very early on that it takes a special kind of deranged human to beat you up as they're giggling. And so that was met pretty well. And then about 9 or 10 years old, I mean, I think I was 9, maybe 10 years old. I found I learned to do voices, so I could do like back then I could do like Donald Duck and not a very popular one now, but I had a mean Bill Cosby, and Ronald Reagan and like just did different voices. And I don't know if you remember, there was a cartoon, it was a Punky Brewster cartoon, and there was a little magical teddy bear that would fly around named Glomer. And he was like super popular, and the girls kind of loved that little character. And I learned to do that voice, and the girls would laugh. Like, so all of a sudden, these girls were very, very nice to me, and the guys that liked those girls were very hesitant to bully me because it would upset the girls. And they wanted to, go steady with these girls and all this stuff. And I just wanted to not get beat up and make it home okay. And so I learned the power of, if you make women laugh, then men will laugh. And if the power of laughter and the power that women have in the nature of a relationship, I figured that out at about 10. I've never been any good at it after that, but I figured it out at 10. Is when I do my stuff to there's in some of the clips that you can see on my Instagram stuff, there's one where I'm talking to a lady and she's like telling me about her daughters and how girls can do this and girls can do that. I was like, yeah, I don't know what show you've been watching, but that's what I say the whole time. Like, I've been talking about that the whole time. And so in the power of women. So started doing that, and one thing led to another. Went off to college, and like a good Indian kid was going to be a doctor, and decided I did not want to do that, and didn't want that lifestyle. But I started acting in high school, and was still acting in junior college, and then in college, and changed my major from pre-med to fine arts, which devastated my mother. She wanted me to be a doctor. And, got into the family business after college. And a girl that I was dating, our ritual every Friday was get off work. We'd go pick up the Chinese food from the same place. And I would rent whoever's special. I'd go to Blockbuster. If anybody out there remembers them, I would go to Blockbuster and rent whoever special was out. And that's what we would do on Friday nights. We'd eat Chinese food and watch comedy specials. And she took me for my Christmas present to the Improv in Addison, Texas. And on stage was this Indian guy who was a local guy. And I thought she had taken me to see that guy. I didn't know he was the opening act. I didn't know how any of it worked. And I was just gobsmacked. I was like, I didn't know that, like, we don't do this. Indians don't do stand-up. And so I talked to him after the show, and he's like, there's this workshop that you can take here. Can't teach you to be funny, but it can teach you how to structure a joke. And at the end of the 8 weeks, you get 5 minutes you get a 5-minute set that you've worked on, and then you get to perform on stage here at the Improv. And that sold it for me. Legends have been on that stage. And so I did the workshop, and I was supposed to do 5 minutes, and it went really well. And coming off stage, it was supposed to be 5 minutes with applause breaks and laughs. It was 7 minutes and 54 seconds. I'll never forget it. It was April 14, 2002 at 9:35 is when I went on. And I came off, and somebody's like, I have this cable access show, and I've got, I run this open mic, and I run this show, and I do this, whatever. And I was just, okay, I'll come do that, and I'll come do this show, and I'll come do that show. And here we are 21 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story. And you covered a few things for me, because I was going to ask what kind of child were you? Were you very serious, or were you the class clown? But it sounds like...
I wasn't. I wouldn't call myself the class clown. I was very. I still do love learning. And so I was very. When class was going on, it was very much about class, and at recess and at lunch and things like that. I would the jokes and the voices and stuff like that for the people would come in after school stuff, and me and my buddies in the neighborhood, like, I would make them laugh. I would make up stories, and But when it came to school, like I was a weird kid. I was walking at 7 months old. I was reading and writing by 3. And so yeah, they didn't know what to really do with me. So I was a year younger than everybody. I started kindergarten. Like I turned 4 going into kindergarten. And so it was very much about learning in school and that. But when there was downtime and it wasn't time to learn, it was time for me to, go on stage and if that was the lunchroom, if that was the playground, or if that was, in my driveway with my buddies, so be it. But yeah, I mean, I'm still very much, but I think every woman I've dated, everybody that knows me, and knows how quiet, like if I'm just at home, very, very quiet. Like I don't talk a lot. I don't say a lot. Like you wouldn't know I was there. Like if it wasn't for the fact that it was on like Investigation Discovery, or Dateline, or whatever People Magazine investigates, like that's how you'll know I'm home. Otherwise I'm just sitting there, just yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I mean, not a big class clown kid, but I was. But when it was time for the show to begin, it was
You were
showtime.
on.
Oh, I was on, and then when
Uh,
the bell rang, that was like getting the light. When the bell rang, it was like that was my time to wrap it up and get back in and go on to, because I gotta get into a good school. I gotta get into a good college. So
right.
which is not the concern of most third graders, but when you
No,
have immigrant parents that tell you, you have to, studying is the most important thing. So
exactly. So, at home, was there a lot of comedy, or was it very serious? Did
you know,
it,
um,
your comedic endeavor was your own? Maybe
what's that? Say again?
sounds like your comedic endeavor was your own, or was
No, I
there?
mean my mother was wickedly funny. My father was my dad, I think, invented the dad joke. Um, I'm pretty sure it's credited to him. Like he would tell the same one over and over again, and then he did this thing where he, with every joke, would repeat the punchline twice. I don't know why, just but for emphasis, like he would just always. But he was very nerdy fun, like not nerdy funny, but like clean, like very like didn't curse. And my mother was the exact opposite, which for Hindu Punjabi families is not the
Not heard of.
norm. So it's supposed to be like the men over in the corner, like telling the raunchy jokes, and the women over there just gossiping. And it was the other side of things. Like I would hear like my mom tell these extremely graphic, dirty jokes, and I'm like, oh, mom, all right. And then my
Right.
dad's like, my dad was like, is like, FedEx and UPS have merged. Their new name is Fed Up. Fed Up. And I'm like, heard it the first time. I don't know what the emphasis is, but then I had, and I you would, classics. Like I watched the Three Stooges with my dad. I watched Charlie Chaplin with my dad, and I watched Laurel and Hardy, and things like that, and Abbott and Costello, and so stuff like that. And then I had a cousin who had come from India when I was about 12. He came to live with us to study, of all things, computers. And he was older, and my parents would go to dinner parties and leave him to basically watch us because he's from India, he's from the motherland, so he's a good kid. And the first dinner party they went to, he's like, "Don't tell your parents I've rented this." And we watched Delirious, Eddie Murphy, and I years later saw him. He lives in Vegas, and I was at the Tropicana performing at the Laugh Factory there, and he came to see a show. And we started talking about how I was like, do you remember that time you rented Delirious? And he goes, "Yeah, I always knew you were going to be a comic." I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "The rest of us were dying laughing, and you were watching it like a professor giving a lecture." Because you would stop and be like, "So why did he say that there? Like, why did he use that joke? And why didn't he say this? And does he get paid? And how do you do this?" And I had all those questions at like 12, 13 years old. And yeah, I mean, it was a very, interesting melding of different comedic tastes. And then for whatever reason, my cousin was the black comics were like, so I cut my teeth on Red Fox and Richard Pryor and again Eddie Murphy and things like that. And so I learned like had the swag, the swagger that they had on stage, and the cool and the confidence and the the putting, like, if you watch Richard Pryor, everybody's like, oh man, he was ahead of his time, and he was super dirty. The way he would craft a sentence, still till this day, is impressive to me. And so I kind of learned that as well. But then my dad would let me stay up and watch the Tonight Show, so I got to see all the comics that would come up on the Tonight Show, and that's 100% clean. And so I got to see guys like Gary Shandling, and my favorite of all of those guys was a guy named Dennis Wolfberg. And a lot of people don't know him. He was a New York City school teacher for 20 years before he even got into stand-up. And he was one of Carson's favorites. He, I think, had done 14 or 15 appearances. And, this was back in the day that if you got Carson, you got a deal. You got a sitcom deal. And he had done it 14, 15 times. And he finally got the holding deal with NBC. And I think he had one with Fox as well. But I know it was one with NBC. And he was on tour and was complaining about headaches. And him and his wife, when they went to the doctor, and inoperable brain tumor. And he didn't say anything. And this was just classy. He didn't say anything. He didn't make it public like back in those days. Like, it's not like now. Like, if somebody has the sniffles, if Kylie Jenner stubs her toe, we all know.
Yeah.
But you just didn't see Dennis Wolfberg again. And when he passed, his wife issued a statement, and that was it. That he had passed away at home after months-long battle with a brain tumor. And I still go back. There was a great moment that I had at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, Michigan. I was walking, the first time I was there, I was walking to the green room, and I just stopped. And it did make me kind of misty-eyed, but there's Dennis Wolfberg's headshot that he had autographed. And I hadn't seen that face outside of like me looking him up on Carson and all like old episodes, but it was like he was right there, and it was really cool. And so, yeah, just kind of an interesting, like I said, interesting mesh of from the Reader's Digest to Delirious. It's kind of an interesting combination that created this nightmare that you see before you.
Oh, I don't think we think it's a nightmare. Let me see. What have been the biggest experiences that you've had on stage? Like, places that you've loved to perform that you're like, wow, I'm here.
Yeah. If in a million years, if you would have told me that, I would be 4 years into stand-up, or I think it was 4 years into stand-up, that I'd be performing at Caroline's on Broadway. That's unbelievable. The Comedy Store in Los Angeles. And then, Ireland was one of my favorite moments in 2009. I got a chance to go over to London and Ireland and do shows. And that was wild. Dubai has been just, that's a city that you got to see once in your life. It is just, it's amazing. And it's, you can see where all the money goes. It's all there. But I think for me, going to India and performing in India starting in 2013, I think most people don't realize this because they hear me talk, but I speak Hindi and Punjabi fluently. And going over there, and that's where that's where my parents are from. And going over there, and like, my mother had already passed when I started doing shows in India. But my dad was still alive, and getting my name in like the Times of India. My dad secretly like kept those. I would bring the newspapers back home, like the articles that were written about me, and like the Hindustan Times, the Times of India, the Deccan, the Deccan Gazette, which is in Bangalore, India, or the Deccan Herald, sorry, which is in Bangalore, India, like stuff like that. And he kept those. And if he lost one, he would print it. He would find it in the archives online, and he'd print it out and keep it. Like, he's like, that's a really big deal that you got. But yeah, I think that for me, that moment, like in New Delhi, when I did my first show in New Delhi, it was, touch wood, it was completely sold out. And it was one of my favorite moments because it was sold out. But you could tell like a lot of the people didn't know. A lot of people who were scalping my tickets didn't know who I was. And I remember outside, I was just, I had just gone to get something to eat. And I was bringing it back into the venue, and there was a guy standing there, and he's like, hey, I got 2 tickets for this much. It's 2. And I just kind of pointed at my poster. And I'm like, hey man, that's me. And he's like, and it's India, so they don't care. He's like, all right, man, move it along. I got tickets to sell. And I was like, that's hilarious. He tried to scout my tickets to me, and then when I was like, hey man, that's me, he's like, all right, keep it moving, buddy. I got business.
Like that.
I'm cutting into his sales. But I think for me that was one of the biggest moments. That and there's a legend in our business. His name is Tom Rhodes, and he's a brilliant comic, and he's a even more brilliant human being. But he knew that I was going over to England and Ireland on my own. I had nobody over there to help me with stand up, and he's like, "Come work with me." And I remember spending my 7-year anniversary, 5 a.m, drunkenly walking down the street of Belfast. There's no cars. I think it was like Sunday morning, like at 6 a.m, or maybe even a Saturday morning, 6 a.m. We're just walking down the street, and we have a bottle of Jack Daniels that we're just sipping out of, because the shows went so well the night before, and it was just crazy, and fans wanted to come out and party. And I just thought, like, if you would have told that 13-year-old kid that was watching Delirious,
Right.
like, this is going to be him years later walking down the streets of Belfast, and then on to Dublin, and then on to London, where my parents both lived for 17 years, and doing shows out there, and then on to India to do shows out there, like I would have never imagined. So every chance, I know it sounds corny as all get out, but every show I get to do is always exciting. But those were the landmark moments. So
Of course, and I mean, we'd expect you to have them, but yeah, I'm sure that every new show is ultra exciting because you're still doing what you love.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. So I was gonna ask you, as a child, well, you've already answered that. So, and your parents wanted you. Okay, sorry, I'm like kind of already. I'm like, okay, we answered that. How much joy and satisfaction do you get from making other people laugh?
That's, I mean, if I don't know if there's a measurable amount. I don't know if that number exists, but there's it's not about numbers or sellouts or seats or ticket prices or any of that. It's just that laughter. It's just the seeing that joy on people's faces. Yeah, that's priceless to me. Like, if I could do that and still and not make a dime, but still manage to feed myself and my 2 dogs, I'm like, I would do it free of charge, but unfortunately that's not the case. And
unfortunately, they're just throwing money at you, so you're gonna
yes, they do that. But no, it's just I don't know where that, like, the psychology of that comes from. I have a great therapist, and we've never discussed it, but there is a tremendous, like, that's when everybody talks about the high. I don't know what their experience, like, that is the high that I'm talking about, not like the applause or like, that was a great set. That's always good, and I will take the time to pat myself on the back if it's a good show. But just that pop and that laugh, because for me, most people don't realize that when you applaud, when you clap your hands, that's an that's a voluntary action. It's not involuntary. Like, it's not like you, like, blinking, like you have to do it. When you hear something that's that funny that you have to put your hands together to express that, like, that puts me on top of the world, because that is something you can actually fight. You can choose not to do it. Right. But then you've experienced something that makes you laugh that hard that you're like, you know what? All right, I got to give credit where credit's due. And so for me, that's the best.
I love it. When life gets tough, we all know, no matter what, there's something that comes along, right? When life gets tough, what carries you through these times?
Wow, that's a great question. I never thought about when life gets tough. What carries me through? My mom, she battled cancer. She had leukemia, and she battled that for 15 months. And no matter how bad a day got, you wouldn't have known. Like, you just wouldn't have. Like, she just was such a champ. And it was like, okay, well, there's tomorrow. So tomorrow, maybe I'll feel a little bit better tomorrow. Or if there was, her having difficulty eating or whatever it was when she was on chemo, she wouldn't tell you. And that lady was a product of war. She was in the war between India and Pakistan when she was 7 years old.
Wow.
Stabbed in both knees by soldiers and left to die, and lost her sisters, and reunited her whole family at the age of 7. Like it's a very wild story. And you just learn, like, somebody's got a worse day than you.
Yeah.
And so I have a nice car. I have nice things. I have 2 dogs that are awesome. I have family and friends that are pretty damn special. And so there are people that don't have those things. So if the day is bad, I mean, well, there's tomorrow, and I have all of these things now. So yeah, that's I know. And sometimes a stiff cocktail is good too.
That was a good answer. So who is the biggest name that you met that you were like, oh man, I just met?
Bob Saget for me was like that. It was the first time I'd ever gone to the Laugh Factory. As I was doing stand up here, and there was a comic who'd seen me, and was like, "You got to move out to LA. You got to make it a thing." And I'm like, "I don't know if I have the contacts. I don't know if it's the right time for me to move." He's like, "Come out, stay for a week, and just come with me to the clubs, and I'll introduce you to some people." And he thought this comic thought it was great, and I found out later had been talking me up. And I walk into the Laugh Factory. It was a Friday night. It was, I think, 11:30 is when I was told to meet him there. And we walk in, and the first person I meet is Jamie Masada, who owns the Laugh Factory, who was best friends with Michael Jackson. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan growing up. And I remember him from, unfortunately, the trials and stuff. And I remember that name, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is wild. And then we're standing there, and these are the first 4 people that I meet that I get introduced to is Bill Burr, Sebastian Maniscalco, Bob Saget, and Dane Cook. And that's the first 4 people. And I remember I could hear Brian Callen, who was the one who kind of discovered me here in Dallas. I hear him go, "Hey, the kid from Dallas is here." And Saget was about to go up, and he just kind of leans over. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Bob Saget." That's the guy from Full House. This is wild. And he goes, "So you're the one." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Brian's been talking you up, man. So you're the guy?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Yeah, so you're the comic." I was like, "I am." He goes, "I feel so sorry for you." And it was just a ball bust, and it was great. And then one night I get a call, and this is probably one of my favorite moments. As I get a call, and they're like, "Hey, can you open it was a Tuesday night. They're like, "Are you free to do the 8:00 show?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Who am I opening for?" They're like, no, there's a host, but you're going to feature for Tim Allen." And that was pretty cool. And it was, so in the Laugh Factory, when he's there, the upstairs, there's a lounge upstairs, and that's his, and it's him and his manager and his manager's assistant and the opener. They've known each other forever. And so I just they're like, "You can go upstairs if you want, because you're on the show." And I was like, "All right." I just kind of sat in a corner, and I'm just watching, and it's hilarious because he is very much Tim the Toolman Taylor, in the sense that there were light bulbs out on some of the lamps in the lounge, and he was just checking the light bulbs to make sure, and he counted how many light bulbs were out and told the owner. It's like, there's 6 light bulbs out, and like he was like legitimate, like, "If you need me to go to the hardware store, I can go get some bulbs real quick." So I went up, and I did my thing. I did my set, and I get off stage, and he folds his hands like we do, like as Indians do. He like folded his hands, and he just whispered in my ear. He goes, "You keep staying that funny." And I was like, "Okay." And he leaves normally after his set. He always leaves, and his manager's assistant, or his second manager, and they're they were the same company, came up and was like, "We'd like to talk to you about possibly representing you." And I was like, "Oh, I'm represented by the Laugh Factory, but we can always talk, and if something goes If I decide to make a move, I will. And we're meeting at the Daily Grill in Studio City. And I'm on the phone with my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, hey, Tim Allen's people. And I'm like trying to be a big shot. I'm like, Tim, Tim's people, Tim, oh, Timmy. And my phone beeps, and it's his manager. And she's like, hey, so Daily Grill, we're in the back. Tim's here. And I'm like, who? And she's like, Tim Allen is here. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was going to be part of the meeting. She goes, neither did I. And walk in, and we just sat there and talked religion and politics for an hour. And he is a big fan of Ganesha, and I have Ganesha on my keychain. And Ganesha is the remover of all obstacles, and I have a little Ganesha on the dashboard of my car. And he's been, Tim's like, I've been drawing this Ganesha since I was a kid. I was like, that's cool. And so the next time I was in India, I bought him one, and I brought it back, and I gave it to him. And then my manager at the time calls, and he's like, hey, so Tim Allen just gave you a shout out on Twitter. And it was like, thank you so much for your great comedy and this wonderful gift, and had a picture of it. And so those moments were very cool. And obviously, like at the store, at the Laugh Factory, like I brought up Chappelle, and I got to go to his birthday party, and that was pretty wild, I have to say. But Dane Cook is always, crowd favorite, and got to know him, and been to his house on 4th of July to watch the fireworks in LA. And so there's those moments. And for me, like the biggest compliment, I don't know if I'm going long, I apologize, but for me, the biggest compliment there's a guy named Lowell Sanders. And I might get a little choked up when I say this story, but Lowell Sanders is a legend. Like he like legitimately like flies around with Tim Allen. And we're at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach, and I do my set, and he's, he walks in, and you just kind of wave, and he kind of does a cool nod. And I get done with my set, and I've gotten this compliment a lot. And it floors me every time it happens, but I get it a lot. But I'm walking off, and I get waved over by him, like, come over here. And I sit down. He goes, that was a great set, man. That was a great set. I was like, thank you. He goes, you reminded me of a friend of mine. And I go, oh my gosh, who's that? He goes, oh man, a good friend of mine. Your mannerisms, the way you pace, sometimes the way you inflect, is my old buddy Richard Pryor. And I literally was like, you have to stop. Like, there's no way. Like, those are shoes I can't fill. And I got a little misty-eyed, like I get a little choked up now. But every time he sees me, he hugs me, and he goes, what's up, young Richard? And that's how he hugs me. And so of all of those people, that's great, but that compliment still sticks with me. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That was like so much more than I expected, but
okay. Sorry if I took too much time.
Best answer, because it was like all encompassing, incredible. So I'm excited about this question, because I want to know a time when somebody was really starstruck over you.
I don't know if I don't know if anybody's been. There was one moment, and it just made me look cool. I don't know if if it was a starstruck thing, but it was pretty cool. I was in India, and I was in Bangalore, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and my opening act, and I was like, let's go out on. It was around 4 o'clock. The show wasn't until 8. I was like, let's go grab a drink and some snacks or something and chill. And I get to know him a little bit better. And he was on afternoon radio in Bangalore. Like, that's a pretty big deal, FM radio. And he's like the guy. He's a young kid, good looking dude. And we walk into this bar, and Valerie, you would have thought the Beatles had walked in. Like, people started screaming, and I just look at him and I go, look at you, buddy. Like, hey man. He goes, yeah, man, I'm on radio. They have no idea what I look like. And this one guy starts quoting the Jesus football joke, the playing football in high school joke. He goes, you're the Jesus football guy. And like, people are like going bananas. And I walk over, and they're like, I go and sit down at our table, and it was kind of a cool thing on part of the club. Like, they had a little security guy kind of stand like by our table, and my girlfriend at the time was like, what is going on? I'm like, I have kind of a big deal here. And and this guy's like, wait, he's like, can you take some pictures with us? And I was like, yeah, man, this is great. And I took some pictures, and it was very sweet because as amazing as people can make you feel, there are those that can make you feel humble very quickly. And this lady came over, an older lady, sees what's happening, and she leaves her table with her husband and kids and whatever, and she walks over, like, excuse me, can I have a picture with you too? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she takes a picture. I go, you have no idea who I am. And she goes, I know, but just in case you're famous. And I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah,
But I was on a flight, and this lady who was sitting next to my girlfriend at the time, they just struck up a conversation and said, what are you doing in Dallas? She's like, my boyfriend lives in California, so we're on our way back. And she goes, what were you doing in Dallas? She's like, oh, I was visiting family. And then last night we went to this comedy club and I saw my favorite comic ever. And she goes, oh my God, who's your favorite comic? And I guess she'd forgotten that we had done a show the night before. And that lady goes, Raj Sharma. And I just leaned forward past my girlfriend and go, hello. And that lady just started crying. I was like, oh, please don't do that. And I'm like, especially on a plane, I'm a brown dude. Don't start crying. Like that. So, yeah, she had bought all of my merch, like my t-shirts and my DVDs and this and that. And she just bought them. So I signed all of them and I gave her like one of the ones that I keep just for myself. Sometimes I don't sell it, but I just gave her one of those, and that was kind of a starstruck moment that I had, which is very nice. Most people just come up and like, hey man, you're that guy, right? I'm like, yeah. Okay. Like, sure. Like I was at this barbecue place in Dallas here a couple of days ago, and this guy, empty bar, like the bar's empty, and I'm just waiting for my food. And this guy goes, so you're him, right? And I go, that could be a lot of things, buddy. I don't know. He's like, the comedian guy. And I was like, yep, that's me. And he just sat down and he's like, you're funny. And then just started watching ESPN. I was like, all right, this is great. So there's more of that than those starstruck moments. But anytime somebody comes up and says hello, that's always pleasant. So
I would think that it would be heartwarming until it gets weird, right?
That has happened. I had a guy ask to wear my pants. That was a real moment. Yeah. And then I had a girl in New Delhi who I was doing a show about an hour outside of New Delhi. And I stay in New Delhi in that particular hotel for a reason, because it's away from all the clubs and it's really close to my dad's and our family home. And she sent an email saying how great the show was. And I respond back to everybody. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm glad you had a good time. Thank you for coming out and supporting. And then another email comes right back and it's like, I just want to know if you want to meet for a drink. And I said, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But I've already left and I'm back at my hotel. And she said, I know. I'm in the bar downstairs. And if you want, I can. This was a gangster line, but I just put because this was just crazy. But she goes, you can meet me downstairs at the bar. Or I can bring the bar to your room. And I was just like, wow. And I just shut my laptop and I was like, that's kind of cool. How did she figure out where I am? And that's when I was like, oh, that's a crazy person. And so I just kind of stayed in my room the rest of the night and didn't leave. And I ordered, and I stay in that hotel all the time. And so I ordered room service and like, we're all waiting for you downstairs at the bar to come have dinner. And I'm like, no, there's a person in there. They're like, we can get rid of her. I was like, don't do that, because then it would make her feel bad. No, you'll know the whole situation. So let her just enjoy, and I just won't respond. And please bring me my food and my drink up here. So
can I service and security?
Yeah.
Extra requests. Oh, that is awesome. So I'm just going to take a moment and I'm going to thank everybody who joined us. Whether you joined us live to come on. I've seen some people commenting. I know that other people are still watching, but they're not logged in, so they're not commenting. Or if you're watching this on replay, we really appreciate you being here. We're interviewing comedian Raj, so you can get a hold of him to watch all of his stuff on Instagram. And he's on there as comedian Raj. He's got a big page. He's got a lot of his humor up there, so go and check that out. Right now, we're on the Let's Talk station, so go ahead and hit like and subscribe and hit that notification bell as well so that you get notified of all the shows that we have going on. Really hope that you're enjoying the show. and we are going to continue on.
All right.
Oh,
Can I answer? Can I answer Sheila's question here?
yeah,
Sheila,
sure.
she just said, "How many open mics did it take for you to get comfortable with your material, and enough to build your entire act?" I was a stage actor, so I was comfortable on stage. It was just the material. Like if a play sucked, you always blame the playwright. You know what I mean? So, but in this case, like if it's me that bombs, then it's me that bombs. And so you got to kind of take that into consideration. I was always very comfortable on stage. The first 20 minutes of my act, I think I wrote in like 2.5 months, 3 months, and polished, and it was good. The next 40 minutes to get to the hour was about 5 years. And I was like, why is this taking so long? And it's because I think early on you get that 20 and you're like, you know what? I'm getting work in town. I'm getting work on the road. It's 20 minutes. You know, most corporate shows are 20, 25. And I'm not ready to headline yet. And I'm not trying to not trying to like sidestep to get to that place. And
Right.
so it was many, many years, but I was comfortable pretty much from the jump, just being on stage, but it was getting used to me being the one, it being my words, and I'm to blame if it sucks. So that took a while.
And that would push you to be great because you know that there's
Yeah.
nobody to fall back on, right? Can't go
Yeah.
back and start, getting all mad at everybody else. It's like, this is on me.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the questions I have is, do people have an expectation of you to be funny
Yes.
all the time?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think I set that expectation for them.
Right.
So expectations are always set by ourselves. And so if they say, how you are on stage is how you have to be off stage. So I like to talk to people. If you come to my show, I'll tell you, like, you'll get to know me and I'll get to know you. Because as intrigued as you are about the show, I'm more intrigued by your story. Like, where are you from?
Right.
What do you do? Like, what is, if you have a day job, like, I will stitch you a cape. You're a superhero to me. Like, that is, especially if like you're a teacher or law enforcement or firefighter or doctor, nurse, like that stuff. I'm like, I'm just a goofy clown up here juggling words. But yeah, I've gotten that a lot. Like, hey man, you're quiet. And I'm like, yeah, but I just talked for an hour and a half.
Right.
So can I just get,
Right.
and usually like when I get done with the show, before I go out and do meet and greets or whatever, like for about 15-20 minutes, I just sit in the green room by myself. And I just, I'll just sit there and watch whatever's on TV and kind of decompress and eat a little bit of food and then go back out and turn it back on. And so, yeah, but there is that expectation. So yeah, it's interesting. It freaks people out when they're like, you're quiet. Like,
Right. Yeah. Well, we're no different here. So,
yeah.
so as we transition from the serious aspect of the show into the shenanigans, we're no different. We're hoping for some laughs coming up. But
Right.
First off, I always end this segment of the show. We got the benefit of you being an excellent conversationalist, and you really did share a lot with us. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience, whether it's upcoming shows or something that you have going, or something that I didn't ask that you think I should have? Go let us know.
Yeah, I started new. It went viral on Instagram, which did you mind using open mics and dropping that? Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to ask Sheila. I went to every open mic I could go to. I'd go to. And that's the only way. And always record your set. If you're Sheila, you're asking questions like you want to get into it. Always record your set so you can hear what they laugh at and what they don't. And then Bill Burr calls it trimming the fat. Just take out what they were not laughing at, because it's not necessary. But I went viral on Instagram. Just I've been posting stuff on Instagram, and they're I don't know. I'm old. And I'm like, I don't know how algorithms work. I know I'm Indian and I'm supposed to, but I don't. And I posted a joke that had been up for a while. And for me, it was like, hey, man, you got 6,000 views on this playing football in Texas joke. And I was like, that's cool. 6,000 people saw that. And a buddy of mine out of LA is like, hey, man, you really got to work on this. And my ex-wife, who is my agent, which doesn't get any more Hollywood than that.
Nope.
My ex-wife, who's my agent, was like, been on your butt for doing social media, and I was like, you know what? One day I was like, I'm about to go do this cruise for AEW, which is a wrestling promotion. I'm doing their cruise, and let me just throw. I'm about to leave. I'm like, let me just throw this video up, and I throw the video up, and my buddy Josh calls and is like, hey man, that's great that you did it, but you did it all wrong. Let me tell you what you're doing. And I redid it, and I did the captions, and I did this, and I did that, whatever the 916, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I took a nap because I'm about to go to Miami, and I had 6,000 views in 5 months, which I thought was amazing. And I wake up from my hour-long nap, and I was at 18,000 views in an hour. And I was like, okay, this is weird, but this is great. 18,000, I'll probably do another one.
Yeah.
And then I get to Miami, and we're at 250, 275,000 views. And I was like, man, I am going to be a rock star. And I get on this cruise, and there's no cell service. So like at 4:00 in the morning, randomly, like it would ding a little bit, and I would see like people like, this is a great bit. This is great. Who is this guy? And we get back. It's a 4-day cruise. We get back, and I get in my car, and I think it was at 2.8 million or 2.2 million, something like that. And I'm like, and I'm that guy. I literally spent about 4.5 hours continuous responding to everybody and apologizing because I was on the ship. And just thanking everybody. And I think being kind goes a long way, and being appreciative of somebody taking the time out of their day to appreciate something you've done, and just a thank you. And that got people to share it and then repost it. And then that started going. And by the time I got home, it was, I think, 4 million views. 4.8, I think, is where it's sitting now, because I've re-released it and edited it and copied it down and done different stuff. But it goes anywhere between that one's got 4 million and then 2 million. So the whole viral thing happened. I went from 1,200 followers on January 31st of this year to now today, I think we're at 63,000. And so
you got it.
Yeah. And so I just, the new tour, because of that, my agent, ex-wife agent called and was like, hey man, you need to ask your fans out there, I say friends, your friends out there, what cities you need to come to. So I did that the other day. I asked, I just put it out, a little video on Instagram, what cities, and we got a lot of love from so many places all over the world. So I'm starting my new tour here in Dallas, Texas. It's August 4th and 5th in Dallas at the Dallas Comedy Club. Then we go to Houston, August 16th, I believe. And then August 20th, we're in San Antonio, Texas. And then in September, we kick off, because I'm just working on the new tour. We kick it off in Washington, D.C. So those dates will be up here. So we go DC, Philadelphia, Boston, Stamford/Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then we do Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and that's just September. So October is getting into like Arizona, Oklahoma City, all that, and then we go the international. So we start off November, mid-November. We start in London. We're doing London, Singapore, Hong Kong, Bangkok. I know, Dubai again. And I did make a promise to one guy who was the first invite I ever got to Barcelona. And I said, you know what? I will make sure I get there. I don't care if he's the only person in the audience. Nobody's ever invited me to do stand up in Barcelona. So I did promise that guy. I was like, I'll be there. Like, you have to show up. Like, you can't just not be there. But yeah, and if there's, be kind. I don't know. Rescue dogs, don't buy them.
No.
Rescue dogs. Both of mine are rescues. And the breeders or whatever it is, the puppy mill stuff. Like, I don't know how to get into that. I just think there's a lot of dogs that need homes, and be kind to each other, and thank yous go a long way. And if you are feeling bummed and you're feeling down, I knew immediately. It was after my mom passed away. I started having panic attacks, and I knew I had one panic attack. I was in Vegas, and I made this poor cab driver run every red light from from Caesars to UNLV Medical Center, and I was just having a panic attack, and that's what they told me, and I went immediately and got into therapy and started sorting that stuff out. So, if you're having a bad day, if you're feeling, there's people to talk to, there's people that love you, and just reach out, watch something funny, get out of the house, get out of your pace, and then just I don't know, be nice to each other. I think that's a lot easier than being mean.
It's true.
I don't know.
And you know what? You hit it all there for us. You just you took an entire season and wrapped it all in. Brilliantly done.
Thank you.
Val, they have a surprise for him.
Oh no, what happened?
Sorry?
They have a surprise for him.
I was just gonna say, from The Voice in the Sky, would you please play that video for us? And I think it's maybe not so much a surprise for him. He was there when he did.
It's the same way we look at you guys when you come to the spelling bee. It's the same look, like, jeez. Fuck do they think they're doing here? And it's the same language. You're like, this is gonna hurt. I can't even watch this. What's their last name? Smith. How easy is that to spell? Out in the first round. High five, Venkateshwara. You too.
Yeah, we that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. That's so great. We killed the spelling bee, man. We brought it back home this year, because last year, as I said on stage, we lost to a reg, a regular human. That's what we call it in the bee world. She was just a regular. She was like, I got bored, and I was like, man, these kids are slipping these days. Like, we just 17 years undefeated, and then the 18th year there's a 5-way tie, and then there was one out of the 8-way tie. There was an 8-way tie. Of the 8, 7 were Indian. One was a white girl from Kentucky, which is good, because now we know there's somebody in Kentucky that can spell. And then the next year we lose again. And I'm like, hey man, we gotta bring it back. And this time we brought it back. We brought the spelling bee, the Scripps National Spelling Bee, back home. This is my dream, to win a spelling. I'm not even making that up. Like, I can't even make that up. That's so embarrassing. I haven't ever told anybody that.
We should do a little spelling bee here for you.
Oh my gosh.
We should. It's very, very impromptu, but I'd love to make your dream come true here. So let's see. I'm not prepared, but I am going to just quickly Google something.
Okay. This is awesome.
Watch it be these are, so how about if we go for, what level would you like? University?
To start?
Grade 12.
Sure, yeah.
Grade 12. Okay.
Okay, grade 12.
But
to start.
What was coming up was younger than that, so we'll go for this. So, how about if you spell propensity for us?
Propensity. Is that with the suffix pro, meaning good or good-natured? Right? Propensity. Sure.
The word propensity.
So P-R-O-P, propensity. P-R-O-P-E-N-C-I-T-Y, propensity?
No.
Oh, I'm out already.
You are out already, but I will give you another chance, and I will give you
propensity.
Brochure.
C-E-T. Okay. Brochure.
Brochure.
B-R-O-U-C-H-R-E.
Say it one more time.
B-R-O-U-C-H-R-E.
Yeah, no.
Brochure? No. Hold on. Brochure, B-R-O. Brochure. No, it's B-R-O-C-H-U-R-E.
C-H-U-R-E, yeah.
Yes. Sorry, brochure. I got ahead of myself.
That's okay. We should have.
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? We did it.
Yeah, I'll take one. I'll take one half of my attempt. I haven't had to spell anything in a while.
Well, yeah, and you know what? you are all about speaking, so it would take you, like, you'd have to step back into it. So
I
this was just
know.
a practice run, but it was fun, right?
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And you can always say, like, I had fun on Serious Shenanigans with Valerie
This was
Lorraine.
a great show. I will uh I will plug it. A lot of people for me are on the West Coast, and so I'll plug it for them. So when they're watching it on the replay, I'll make sure for them to comment and say thank you. This was a really, really good show, and it was very, very well done. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of it was a lot of stepping out. You know, when you have to step out of your comfort. You know, a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews and a lot of talk shows or whatever are throw up questions, like you basically are lobbed. You know, you know the questions. They usually give you the questions before you get on the air. And this was great, and it made me think a lot. And
Yeah.
you know, I haven't thought about some of those things in a while, but this was fantastic. And anytime, I'm so glad whoever it was dropped out that you had time for me. So
I know. You know what? It was very sporadic, and I was like, you know what? I'm really hoping that it works out, that you could, and I'm glad you did. But yeah, I am still gonna ask you a couple funny questions, because
okay,
can have a laugh or two together.
yes.
So let me see. Here's the part where I got to read my own writing. So you have magical powers now.
Mhm.
What mundane tasks would you relinquish to the magic spell that you cast?
Mundane task. Grocery shopping.
Oh.
Because I there's certain things, like I love to. This is gonna sound weird. I love to iron.
Okay.
Like I love ironing clothes. Like that's my zen. Like I love that. So I don't find that. But but grocery shopping, I'm like,
Sure.
man, if I could just if I could just boom and it was done. Grocery shopping.
So if you had to put a name to that spell, what would you call it? It's like a question.
Expecting producem.
I like it.
I just need
But
someone to go produce shopping. I can never pick the right fruit. I don't know what are we thumping. How do we find? I don't know how you find a melon or a cantaloupe. Like I've bought so much fruit in the last couple of weeks that just bad when I cut it open. And people are like, well, how did you thump it before you got? I'm like, I don't know what I'm listening for.
I did, yeah. I thought on it, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
You answer.
What sound am I looking for?
Right. Okay, so you travel a lot. I need to know, what is the most inconvenient thing that you have ever forgot to pack?
Oh, I always do this. I mean, I always leave like my my ex-wife would have she'd have a list that she would make, and then we would read it when I got back home of what all I've left on the road and what all I forgot. So I always forget a charger. Always. And then when I do go to that city and I leave, I always forget that charger. So
It's not yours, right? They're just borrowed.
I bought the charger for somebody else, whoever's in that room, but I always forget. And hairspray, I will forget hairspray. Okay. And I have a very particular brand that I like, and I don't find that in every city. And then I get mad, and then I just wear hats.
There's a sponsorship. Like, look. And they'll just give it to you. That's the way it is. And you can, okay, so here we go. What do you call a male ladybug?
A bug? I don't know. A male ladybug? Yeah. That's a really, yeah, just a bug.
We're on the other sides now.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. Is there an answer? Is that a real thing?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm gonna ask this. I'm gonna close my shows on that.
Okay.
What do you call it? What do you call a male ladybug?
Yeah.
A dude bug. I don't know. I don't know. And here's the nerd side of me. I'm like, I
know.
really need to know the answer to this. Like,
So your answer is kind of like, for now, anyways, your answer is dude, right?
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Will there be protests about this answer now?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. For any ladybugs out there that I may have offended,
Right.
I
This
apologize.
joke was not about you.
This joke was not meant to offend anybody in the ladybug community.
Right. So is it true, Raj, that you started a rumor about being a guest on this show just so that I would come and book you?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's how I that's how I get most of my work. Is I
Right.
I trick people into giving it to me. What do you mean? Did I send an email saying I was Russell Peters? My bad. Well, I'm here now, and he's Indian. I'm Indian.
Me. Well, you know what? We always strive to leave our guests with something very special. So I just want to let you know, like, oh boy, my producer and the whole management team, they're always on me about trying to like give away stuff and all that for prizes. But you know, it is true. I'm pretty generous. So I have
Okay.
arranged an Amazon gift card for you.
Oh my gosh.
Whole 26 cents. So, you know, spend it how you wish. But
That's if you said it was 26 cents, I was like, that was meant to be, because that was my jersey number when I played high school football, when I got knocked out and saw Jesus.
And joke came out of that.
It was that.
Whole joke came out of that.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. You know, I just can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been an excellent conversation with you. I've really enjoyed my time, which, you know, sometimes that's all that matters.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know what? If the day, like I always say, when people are like, you know, when do you give up stand up? And I say, the day becomes a job.
Yeah.
The day it becomes work, I'll quit. So
Yeah.
this what you do is so great, and it's so necessary, and it's so needed in this world that we're in now, that you should have fun the whole time you're doing it. So and everybody should and I'll make sure to plug it and plug away, and get more people to watch, and maybe the next time I'm on, it can be a whole $1 from Amazon. Let's just say.
I'm always poking them to, you know, whatever we can give our guests, it means something. Right? Like, the way the economy is, like, you know, you just, and that, so it was 25 cents and it went up to 26. So, you know.
Oh, there you go. I can get one egg.
Right? Yeah.
There we go. Get one egg.
But to say, but, you know, all I can say is that I try every week.
You are awesome, Valerie.
And they're always like, well, we could cancel your show. I'm like, really, for a penny?
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is, I know you're going to stick around, but I'm just going to thank everybody once again. It's always a pleasure to have you coming on, whether it's in replay or in the room. And we have been here tonight with comedian Raj. It's been an extra special episode and an evening and time well spent. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.